Enjoy the frickin' presentation!
Brendam Docks is the busiest landmark on the entire island of Sodor. Many ships come and go, providing a vast variety of cargo for the engines to make deliveries. Sometimes engines bring assets to the ships where they're taken to different places around the world. Because the docks are so busy, safety is always put first, and many rules are in place to enforce this. Unfortunately, like everything in life, rules tend to be broken one way or another. One evening, Cranky the Crane looked down at a workman who just transferred to the docks. "Watch where you're going with that!" Cranky barked toward the workman carrying a dangerous barrel. "It's his first day on the job," the supervisor called out to the crane. "Be lenient, please." This made Cranky crosser as he argued with the dock manager. They were unaware that the newly assigned workman bumped the barrel into a wall, tipping it over. Gasoline began leaking out of the barrel. The supervisor did his work when he turned to the barrel. "Oh no!" The dock manager hurried toward the panicked supervisor. "What's going on?" he asked. "There's a leaking barrel of gasoline here!" cried the supervisor. "What do we do with it?" "We need to dispose of it," the dock manager said sternly. "And safely, too." The workman tried to go telephone for help, but tripped. Uh-oh. Everyone stepped back a great distance in horror, and moments later the lighter exploded, setting the gasoline on fire. "Johnny!" shouted the supervisor. "What did you do?" Johnny, the no-vice workman, was silent. He didn't know what to say at all. The dock manager was very cross. "If this fire spreads, we're doomed. Johnny, you must figure out how to put an end to this place, or else your career is over!" Right away, sir," said Johnny. He grabbed the nearest fire extinguisher and aimed it at the fire. Johnny pulled the trigger and water began spraying on the fire, but it was no good. The fire remained persistent. "Darn!" Johnny cried. "The water had no effect." "That's because you just have an ordinary fire extinguisher," scowled the supervisor. "Fires like this need a Class B fire extinguisher, not a regular one." Soon they had no choice but to sound the alarm. The docks were in a complete panic mode. "Is there a Class B fire extinguisher anywhere?" asked the dock manager. Johnny sighed. "There is only one. At the station." "Well, run over there and get it now!" commanded the supervisor. So Johnny rushed over to the station and told the station master what happened, and why he needed to borrow their fire extinguisher for a few seconds. He handed it over to him, and Johnny ran back to the fire as fast as his legs allowed him. He stood face to face with the fire he started and pulled the trigger. A foam-like substance sprayed onto the fire. Eventually, the fire was removed. "Hooray!" everyone cheered. The celebration was only brief when the dock manager turned to Johnny. "You do realize that because you started this fire, this is coming out of your paycheck, right?" fiddlesticks! Is one of the oldest engines on Sir Topham Railway. He is admired by the engines and people who see it. Gordon always teased him due to his age, but Sir Topham recognizes Edward as a really useful engine, and always has been. One day, Gordon was pulling the express as usual, until he saw what looked like a red flag on the hill. "Whoa there, Gordon," said the driver as he applied his brakes. Gordon came to a stop in front of the red object. "Wait a minute," astonished Gordon. "That's not a flag!" There, blowing in the wind, was a pair of pants. After it whisked away, Gordon tried to start again, but it was no good. His fireman telephoned for help, and soon Edward came to push Gordon up the hill. He had done this for years, and today was no exception. "You took your time, Edward," said Gordon crossly. "You're so old and slow, I'm surprised Sir Topham keeps you on." "You're not moving very quickly yourself, Gordon," retorted Edward. Gordon scoffed as Edward pushed him up the hill. "I'm clear of the old iron, hooray!" Gordon laughed as he soared down the other side. Poor Edward was left without so much as a thank you. Later, Edward met Thomas at the next station. "Why is Gordon so ungrateful?" he asked him. "He doesn't even say thank you when I give him a push. He only says how old and unreliable I am." "Maybe it's time we taught that big engine a lesson," smiled Thomas, and he told Edward his plan. "I'm going to start 10 minutes before Gordon and make him follow me across the island. We'll see who gets the last laugh." Edward was unsure about Thomas's plan, but he knew Gordon needs his comeuppance one way or another. The next morning, Thomas was out on the main line doing his local service that stops at each station. He knew Gordon would be coming up behind him in a minute, but Thomas was one step ahead. He went onto Gordon's line, forcing him to slow down. "You're in the way of my express, Thomas!" called Gordon. "Remember our deal, Gordon," said Thomas cheekily. "You said you'd follow me across the island." Gordon was worried. "Can't you go any faster?" When they came to Gordon's Hill, Thomas went even slower and slower until Gordon was stopped again. "No!" cried Gordon. "I'm stuck again!" Thomas puffed away laughing. Then Edward came up alongside Gordon. "Have you given up following Thomas already?" asked Edward cheekily. "Thomas tricked me, Edward," said Gordon. "He went too slow." "Oh dear," murmured Edward. "But I must say, you don't seem very reliable, always getting stuck on your own hill." "Wait!" exclaimed Gordon. "You need to give me a push!" "Are you sure?" asked Edward teasingly. I didn't think you needed any help from me. After all, I'm so old and unreliable. Gordon was alarmed. But I do need your help. I promise not to call you old nor unreliable again. Please! Edward reversed back down the hill. Okay, Gordon, he said. I believe you learned your lesson now. And what you say? Botheration. I'm sorry. Thank you, Edward. You're welcome, Gordon. Anytime.